Oh well, today's the day the motor's coming out. I've kindly borrowed this crane off my co-worker. It's a bit bigger than I thought it would be. But yeah, we're gonna try pull the motor out, and I couldn't be fucked buying a stand, so we're gonna put it on that tyre today, and then when I get a stand, we'll put it on the tyre and split the gearbox, and then we'll put it on the stand. So the engine crane's hooked up roughly where we want it, just to, we've never played with one of these before, so we don't want it to end catastrophically, like falling over or anything like that. But there's a grab hook there, and then there's another grab hook there. So the plan's hopefully just going to be to remove the subframe. There's one mount there, and it should drop off the bottom of the motor. Then we've just got that mount there and that mount there to undo. And we should be able to pull the motor and hopefully manipulate it a bit to get the side of the gearbox beyond the chassis rail. And then we can just pull it up and lower it onto the tyre. Oh, that's quite easy actually. There we go. And it's leaking out, so if I grab a bag, which Bailey has prepared earlier, lift the end out, bag that up before it can leak out everywhere. Cool, so that's going to stay on the car. So now we're going to disconnect the exhaust from the engine, which I completely forgot we had to do. But there's a little bracket with 14mm bolts, so we've got to take off first. I can't really get the camera in there. And it's got like these things which crush it together. Can't really see. They welded a new piece of flexi in, so I think they changed the setup down there a bit. But there's like this sleeve that you can see there, and I think once we unbolt that, we can pry the exhaust out of it or something like that. So Bailey's undoing the bolts of the bracket now. Yeah, anyway, so a handsaw didn't cut it, so we've resorted to angle grinder now to remove the downpipe. Well, we've gotten halfway through the current downpipe with the grinder, so we should be able to cut that off and then we can pull the whole motor out. Yay! Also, we were examining my spare transmission, which I got for parts, and this one seems to select every gear. Here we go. Pull it up. Push it down. Yeah. And, oh, we're halfway around it. Yeah. The only problem is that bracket there, which is mildly annoying. And then it's mildly annoying to get the grinder around there, but I'll have another old crack at it. Well, we're not having much luck with the cut-off disc because that one's really old and shit, so we're going to go pop down the road and get a new one. And then we found out we can actually just go in and sort of thread the grinder through and reach it from there perfectly fine. But in the meantime, we've disconnected everything else that we'd forgotten. So the AC compressor's been removed. That's just 4 bolts which hold it into that carrier. And to get to those bolts easier, you can remove the inlet up there for the water. And also discovered while I was on there that it's had a new thermostat very recently. They must have done that when they did my cam belt, because that's like brand new. There's no rust or sludge or anything on it, so that's pleasantly surprising. Alright, we've done a couple checks. Final disconnect stuff with the alternator's been done. I won't show too much of that. I'll show you when the engine's out what you need to disconnect, but crane's in, so we're going to latch this side across that lifting point down there. Well, if I can reach, which Bailey's going to drop the crane down. Yep, we're good. And we're going to latch that one securely there. And then there's the other hook point up there, that's resting on. So now we're going to go ahead and disconnect that mount there, which is just the bolt through the centre or from the side of the gearbox. That one's bolt through the centre. This one's a little bit tricky. We've got a bolt there, and then the other one's conveniently on the underside of this one. So that one there, and then that whole side of the engine will drop off. Alright, cool. So fuck off. I've got a little camera set up there with a sort of battery, and I'm going to do a time lapse of us pulling this out. So it's either going to look really cool with the motor coming out, or if the crane falls over and the motor falls down and the car falls over, at least it will really be funny to catch that on time lapse. So either way, this is a win-win situation. Alright, let's get started. The motor's now on here. Oh, that was so sketch. We had the motor out and the crane wouldn't go any higher. So we had to sit the motor on the brace, adjust the body and everything, but oh, we got it out in the end. There it is. The drive line from the CE100. It is nearly 12 at night. We've been going at this for about 5 hours now. But the motor's out. And now the fun part of the project can finally begin. We did it. These lovely mounting points here, which are welded to the frame, kept getting in the way, and then the hoses kept getting stuck over the crank pulley. So yeah, we had to like lean the engine all the way so the crank was just facing like up towards the roof to get it out. I've got it sitting nice and sort of safe on my used tyre, so I'm going to try and split the gearbox off the back of it so I can get that box out, strip that one down for parts and get my one rebuilt. And that little fucker there is the whole reason we started this project. So that is the remains of the snapped gearbox bolt from when I went over that massive bump in the road. So yeah, all of this, all because of that one little thing. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to start working my way around the transmission. There's bolts up there, and I don't know how many bottom bolts, so I should be able to reach them all without having to lift the engine back up. We'll slide the gearbox off, and then we'll have a look at the clutch and flywheel after that. Also got myself a nice engine stand that will lift the motor onto once the gearbox is separated. Alright, let's do it. Right, so that's the top two 17mm bolts out. That one I could get to with the rattle gun. That one I could not because the shift tower's in the way, so I had to make this horrific contraption, a DIY breaker bar with my 3/8 set and my extension, but I got enough leverage on it to pop that one out. So there's those top two bolts. There's a 14mm, I want to say there. Another 14 there. That hard line I'll need to move out of the way to get that one. And then I think there's those two on the back. There doesn't appear to be any at the bottom holding the bell housing in, so Once I get those out, the whole gearbox should just be able to pop off. Deep impact for the clutch line bracket's a little bit overcool, but I can't be bothered walking over there to grab my normal socket. That one's on harder than the bell housing bolts. There we go. So now I should be able to move that hard line out of the way to get to the other 14 down there. No, that might actually be a 17, not the top ones. Find out. Right, I've also discovered that I am stupid, because those 2 bolts there have got nothing to do with the bell housing, and the starter motor just went flying off. So anyway, here's the starter motor. Teeth look pretty alright on that. This thing has never done me wrong in terms of starting, so I don't think it needs to be replaced or rebuilt or anything like that. So I'll just pop that to one side. So I think it's now just those bottom bolts. Should be able to split the casing. Morning team, it is the next day and I've just spent about half an hour on my knees just wiggling the gearbox. And I finally got it off the engine. So, looking in here, that's a Exceedi aftermarket clutch, not a factory one, so honestly not to be unexpected with how many Ks are on this thing, but I mean, yeah, it sort of looks pretty good. It's a bit rusty inside, but we'll whip that off and see what the clutch itself looks like. There's the really squeaky release bearing, so definitely want to replace that. Everything else appears to be in order in here though. Yeah, that was a pain in the ass to get that off. Just wiggle, 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 tap, tap, tap. I think I've bent the flex plate a little bit, but hopefully I can just tap that back into shape. So yeah, I'm going to spend the morning setting that one up and getting the correct bolts to mount this up. I want to try pull the flywheel off first, but I might need a bigger breaker bar for that. Spun the motor around a wee bit, so now I can pull the clutch cover off. They're all 12mm bolts, so excited to see what condition the clutch is in this.
Did I miss it? Yeah, I did miss it. Get back on there.
Well, the clutch is now free of the flywheel, and I don't think that looks too bad. I'm not 100% sure what I'm looking for in a worn clutch, but seems to be alright. What's the other side of the plate look like? Yeah, I don't think that's too bad. So I still need to get the right length bolts to mount that up to the stand. But in the meantime, I'm going to try pull some of the other stuff that I can access on this side off, like that water line can come off. I'm going to try get that off, alternator. Hopefully that's got enough power to get the exhaust manifold off, that'd be good. See how we get on.
Easy, right?
Alright, that's the water line from the original one. We will not be reusing this because the new water outlet will go that way. So I am going to keep all these parts and compare them to the rest to see if I've missed anything. But yeah, it's the engine at the moment. It's just a couple bolts and a wee hose to unclamp there. Right, now I'm going to undo this oil line there, so hopefully they're 12 mil. Yes, they are. Oh yeah, and they are banjo ones, so they're oil filled. Or oil filled, oil pass through, should I say. I'm just gonna pop those back in the housing so we don't lose them. They're not going to be too difficult. I think these are the same size ones, so not too worried about getting them around the wrong way. Cool, that's that line off. Now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts. They all appear to be 14 mil. Correct, they are 14.
Try not to lose anything under the tyre because I won't be able to get it back until I move the motor off it.
A little bit of oil left in that. That's the original oil module removed. Should probably clean that up to stop the oil spilling out everywhere, but that just mounts there, and I've got a new seal for that, so I'll clean that one up. Not too sure how the oil cooler comes off. I know there's 2 hoses going into it, but it seems to be affixed to the block, so maybe under there's some mounting bolts, but I'll have to have a look at the diagram and see how it looks. That's good, we're slowly getting everything off this side of the motor. Alright, I've now switched to the alternator, so I want to get that line off and that line off there. So that bottom one looks quite large, 17 mil I want to say. Nope. 18? Nope. 19 mil. See if we can crack that one off. Yeah, cool. It's pretty easy. Oh, okay, that one's a banjo bolt again. So I'm just going to slide that one back into the block. That'll be the oil line for the rotary pump for your brakes on the back. That one's probably just a 12. Yep. Don't know if that's a oil line or not, that one. Okay, yeah, it's a banjo, so it is indeed an oil line. So now I want to remove that one there and that one in there. I think we should be able to pull the alternator off. What size are you? 14. Ooh, big ugly bolt. And there's like a little pin thing in there. It's real odd, I don't know how that one comes out. Might need to somehow get them behind there and take the whole mounting bracket off. Sure there's a way. Or does the whole alternator go that way? Right, so my camera's gone and run out of battery on me, but I've fully removed the lines from, where is it? That one there up to there. Fully pulled that one off because I couldn't quite get the impact in. And now I'm removing, I think that's part of the adjuster, but it should allow me to pull the alternator off. Yeah, I'm not too sure how that works. I'm guessing maybe the whole alternator pulls off that way. If not, there's 2 more mounting bolts down there, and I could just try and release the whole alternator mounting bracket. Okay, cool, so the alternator's now removed, along with the rotary pump on the back. So yeah, that whole pin, which is for the adjustment, just slides in and you can just pull the whole alternator off. It was a bit stuck on there, but just wiggled it off and it popped right out. So now we can get to the bolts on the exhaust manifold. That's disconnected, so it should just be able to swing it out. But yeah, hopefully that's not too stuck on. Okay, there's just that one tricky one in there which I can't get the impact into, but hopefully now that it's loosened up I can just get in there with my 3/8 set. So that's all the hardware for the exhaust manifold out. Thankfully it wasn't stuck on. Hopefully it perseveres coming off, because I can't undo that water line around the back at the moment, so I mean that whole thing's getting deleted because it's just for the EGR, so I'm not too worried if I buckle that. I've got my box of 2CT goodies from the donor car, and just loosely holding it up there, it fits, which is a good start. All the bolt holes line up the same. Yeah, this is pretty cool. That's a new oil module. I have to get that oil cooler off in order to fit it because it moves over this way. Now we'll put the old one over there. It's a lot smaller than that big one. And the oil cooler drum's built into it, so I'm not too sure where to plumb that sensor into the new one. I think there's should be a spot somewhere. I took pictures of the donor car so I'll be able to see where it went, but yeah, good to know that that does indeed fit. So just going to pull all this off for now and cover up those holes, make sure nothing gets into the block, and I think we'll call it there for a day.